We can't be the only two here, right?
No, there's other people coming.
Oh, okay. That's good.
They're all coming in, admitting them all. It's joining. Bonnie Burke, Chris Custer, Larry Corsell, Sandra Goshen, and Sam Jackson looks like her phone number. I don't know why it's not letting everyone in right now, though. Can you hear me, Amanda?
Kind of. I don't know if it's your signal or mine.
Oh, it's probably mine. I'm sitting in the field next to a soccer pitch.
Oh, yeah.
I have my this is my life. Oh, here I'm gonna sign you host.
Okay. Just in
See
case.
if that helped. Yep, just in case. No. Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Yeah, okay. After I signed you host, suddenly like it. I think let everybody in. No. There we go. I see Amanda. I see Larry. I see Bonnie. I see Chris.
No.
Sandra.
Gonna change.
Bonnie.
You're just gonna have to tell them it's you. You can't change it. I'm on mute anyway. Somehow or other. Oh, I'm not on mute. It's Sharon Corey. From
Sharon
Wells.
Corey. Okay, all right. It says Bonnie Burke on your name, so I'm just gonna change your name. Actually, Amanda can
I'm
change
using
it.
her. I'm using her computer because I'm away.
Okay. Sharon Corey. Can you rename her, Amanda? Wells. There's the Lair Bear, Chris, Cassandra, Sandler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are at least 2 or 3 short of a quorum. We'll wait a couple minutes, see if we can get a quorum so we can have a meeting.
There are people in the waiting room. I wasn't receiving notifications that they were waiting.
Aha, okay. Oh, good.
He wants a couple of things.
Mr. Quint, John Hill. Somebody sitting outside near some trees.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hey, John. Terry Williams, Pulteney, and Goulet. Excellent. Give it another minute.
Is that how I go? Mom, is that how I go on video?
Yes, Will Anderson for Vicuna. Hey, Will.
Okay, for your pictures. That's fine.
One.
Bill, should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, I was just double checking our
Oh, quorum.
quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, good. We're good. So meeting that's 5:05. We're gonna call the meeting of the Otter Creek Communication Union District order, October 20th, 2021 meeting. Agenda has been sent out. However, first what we want to do is call our rolls. I see we have Bill Moore, Brandon, Larry Corsell, Mendon, Andrew Quinton, John Hill Benson, Terry Williams Pulteney, Sharon Corey Wells, Chris Custer Hubbardton, Sandra Hayes Goshen, Marianne Goulet West Rutland, and Sam Jackson is entered in as 3534190. She's representing Pittsford. Welcome everybody. We definitely have the quorum. Next thing, our agenda is to approve the agenda. Do we have any motions out there to approve our agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
John Hill with the motion. Is that Avery with the second? Any changes to the warrant? Or to the warrant, sorry, to the agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 See none opposed, it passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 3, approval of September minutes. Any motions to approve these minutes as sent out?
I could make a motion to approve the minutes from September.
And I could second it.
Actually, that was Chris with the initial motion. Who was that with the second? I'm sorry.
Terry?
Harry,
Terry Williams. All right. Look good to everybody. No changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye or giving a thumbs up.
No,
aye,
Any opposed? The ayes appear to have, the ayes do have it. Minutes are approved for our September meeting. Moving on to our executive committee update. Turn this over to Amanda. Was that our last executive committee meeting?
yeah, I guess ideally someone from the executive committee would provide their view of what was discussed, but we'll work on that one for next time. We went over grant updates, or I shared grant updates to the executive committee. And Larry Corsell, the Otter Creek CUD's rep to VCUDA, gave in-depth information in terms of what's been discussed recently, which is also on this agenda, predominantly the MOU. I think I sent that out yesterday. I'm sorry for that delay. And the executive committee moved to have this as a full board discussion. I think that was the biggest takeaway.
Thank you, Amanda. And I only threw it over to you because I dropped off at the end of that meeting to make sure there was nothing groundbreaking. That was the one piece that I had missed with the approval to move on to. So with that, any questions about the executive committee update? And stuff that will not be addressed later on in the agenda. All right, thank you very much for the update. Moving on to agenda item number 5, our VCUDA update. With that, I'll turn it over to Larry Corsell, our VCUDA rep, and I think you may or may not have a guest here from VCUDA.
we do. So with us this evening is Will Anderson. He's a program coordinator for VCUDA. So I'm going to get you started on the memorandum of understanding, and then will fill in with more information and answer some questions for you. So at our last VCUDA meeting, which was September 11th, we went over the NRTC fiber purchase. NRTC is National Rural Telecommunications Cooperative. And this is how VCUDA will serve as the accommodation party. There was a legal analysis done. So VCUDA is acting as broker, more technically as an accommodation party. In the opinion of counsel, VCUDA is not incurring any debt or financial obligation. NRTC is accepting a letter of credit in favor of VCUDA. The bank is incurring a financial obligation, not VCUDA. The pledge of anticipated construction grant monies equal to the fiber cost is a financial obligation incurred by each CUD individually, not a financial obligation of the association. And then they talked about doing a bylaw change, but the legal analysis said that was not needed. Here's the written agreements that are required. First, a letter of credit VCUDA uses to gain acceptance of order by NRTC, and that's what they want to do that immediately. Purchase order from VCUDA to NRTC, that's immediate. Contract between CUD and VCUDA pledging portion of grant funds, that's also immediate. and purchase order from CUDs to VCUDA. That's after the design work. So we discussed the MOU at the executive committee meeting. In a nutshell, basically, it's VCUDA would be purchasing the fiber optic cable. In the MOU, it doesn't state specifically who, and I'll go over that in a minute. There is a need that this is being done immediately. There's a window of opportunity for getting the fiber optic cable from NRTC, and I believe it's looking at 1,000 miles. That's an initial purchase. Eventually, I think we need 7,000 miles for the state. The various CUDs, all 9 of them are in various stages compared to where we are. Some are ready for build out. They have, I think there's 3 grants, construction grants that are pending approval. So the need is immediate to get this cable and to get it ordered, but there is a waiting period to get it. There's not a shortage of the cable right now, but there is a shortage of the labor to produce it. So the material is not a problem. So let's go over this MOU. So basically, it's an MOU stating that all CUDs, whoever signs this, and just say Otter Creek is one of them, that we will be purchasing the fiber optic cable and equipment from VCUDA. So VCUDA shall order from 1 or more reliable and accredited suppliers, manufacturers, or vendors such communications, plant materials, and equipment as CUD shall request. VCUDA shall be responsible for matters relating to such orders, their placement, fulfillment, conformity to specifications, delivery, and payment. As security for payment of such orders of materials and equipment, VCUDA shall procure and maintain a standby letter of credit from a financial institution. CUD shall reimburse VCUDA all sums advanced by VCUDA to purchase materials and equipment on behalf of CUD. As security for its commitment to reimburse VCUDA for advances made on its behalf, CUD assigns and creates a security interest in favor of VCUDA in all grants in aid which now or hereafter may be awarded by any state or federal agency to CUD for the constructing communications plant improvements. For its part, CUD shall apply for and diligently pursue federal and state construction grant funding. CUD shall not undertake any grant anticipation borrowing which impairs the existence or enforcement of the security interest gained by VCUDA in Section 2 hereof. In order to facilitate VCUDA's procurement of the standby letter of credit called for in Section 2, CUD consents to VCUDA's assignment of the security interest created in Section 4 of the letter of credit, financial institution. Upon the funding of a state or federal construction grant in aid awarded to a CUD, the proceeds thereof shall be paid over to VCUDA as reimbursement of sums advanced by VCUDA on behalf of the CUD. To the extent CUD shall derive revenue from the operation of its communications plant, such revenue shall not be pledged in any form until such time as all sums advanced by VCUDA on behalf of CUD are paid in full. CUD shall comply with all grant terms and conditions imposed by the state or federal agency awarding such grant to the CUD. So that's basically all of the MOU. So now I think, Will, if you want to step in and kind of give a nutshell of the whole process and the need for this to happen immediately.
Sure. Thank you, Larry. And thank you all for having me here today. I don't know many of you, admittedly, and this is my first time attending an Otter Creek meeting. So thank you very much for the opportunity to listen in and see exactly where your CUD is at and where I might have an opportunity to help with the association. So starting with this purchasing arrangement, Larry, thank you for going through the MOU. To sum it up, the MOU is an agreement that any of the fiber that you take from the supply that we're going to purchase, you will be reimbursing us directly for that. And the reason we need that is to show that that the funding the state has right now that will be passed down to your CUD will be used to repay the balance for the fiber that we purchase. That's the essence of it. This MOU does not exclude you from seeking out fiber from other sources. It merely permits you to pursue the fiber that we purchase, which we expect will be cheaper and more readily available than from any other sources, according to the research that we've done. So that's the essence of the MOU. Another thing I've mentioned to Larry is that in theory, you wouldn't need to sign this tonight because this is a developing situation. I was on the phone today working out the details for this arrangement, and we expect that it'll probably be around the end of next week that we have the exact proposal in place that this needs to be signed. So it's definitely good that we're discussing it now. To sign it now would be good, but probably a week premature. And I just want to stress caution that there may be a need for another line or two of revisions in that time. So keep that in mind. There's no reason not to sign it now, but it may be that you might want to call a emergency meeting next week just to say, yes, we're going to approve this version and go ahead with this plan. So this will also be the first in a line of purchases of this partnership. Even if you don't anticipate being able to use much or any of this fiber in the coming year, I would highly recommend that you join in on this MOU so that you'll set a precedent for your CUD going forward to be part of this purchasing plan. Because we think that the prices we're going to get through this partnership will be much more efficient than those that can be attained by an RFP process from your CUD individually, or any CUD individually. So that's the idea with the MOU. I'm happy to take questions on that. Before that, I'll just also say that I'm working on, and my collaborators here at OCCUD are working on a lot of other issues for all the CUDs. Workforce development is a top priority for us right now. We're working with a variety of educational centers around the state, as well as with the State Department of Labor, to flesh out a plan to stop the bottleneck of the limited supply of labor that we have here in the state in the coming year and years. So we're working on that. Also interfacing with the Community Broadband Board and soon the legislature to try to really set us in an optimal position with the grants and the funding that your CUD will be receiving, amongst other things. So I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and any statewide or CUD-wide issues that you'd like information on or like to discuss, my inbox and my phone number are open, so please be in touch. And if there's any questions about the purchasing plan or the MOU agreement, I'd be happy to take them. So thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will. Thank you for presenting. Any questions from the board writ large? I mean, I've got a couple, but I want to give other people opportunity to ask questions.
I'll start. Will, that window of opportunity, what is the timeline before that? The deal that from the
So
before that closes from the NRTC.
Well, the window for buying this fiber will not close. NRTC has a number of factories and a number of manufacturers, but within the next month or even the next weeks, the prices and wait times for this fiber are likely to rise astronomically. Every single state in the country, 49 of which are bigger than ours, are about to be getting a lot of funding dedicated to broadband. We are in a unique position, the state of Vermont, that we are well prepared for this. We have CUDs like yours that are ready to start planning and building fiber out to every single household. We've got a good infrastructure with the State Community Broadband Board to lay this out. We're in a unique position to buy fiber now, whereas the other states are not. And once they receive this funding, which is expected to be quite soon, these prices will be way higher than we're talking about now. And also, the deal we have from NRTC right now is 40% lower than the nearest competitor. That is expected to even out with other providers within the next month or even weeks. The same story is true for the wait times for the fiber. Right now, we're looking at 26 weeks if we purchase this 1,000 miles or even more than that, up to 2,000. If we wait even 3 weeks, that wait time could be closer to a year. So in terms of how we want to get this cycle of purchasing going, really, we think that now is the time to move.
Thank you.
And again, this will be an initial purchase. There's going to be 3 types of fiber, it turns out, in this purchase. We're going to be purchasing more types of fiber and more types of hardware down the line, likely through the same partnership and the same type of MOU, that VCUDA can make a bulk purchase, provided that the CUDs have agreed beforehand to reimburse out of the construction grants to us. So we expect this to be a plan that's replicated many times over the course of the next few years.
Well, I know that fiber comes in different sizes. Are there different specs on the fiber? Also, I guess my concern is that we're working with two telephone companies. Will they potentially have different specs on the fiber, and do we need to know their specs before we buy fiber?
Well, short answer, yes. There's a lot of different specifications for fiber in terms of both the strand counts and the casings for the fiber and so on. How we've come to a decision on what to purchase here is by getting information from all the CUDs that are farther along in their planning, and from EC Fiber, which of course is already well built out. We're going for loose tube, lightly armored fiber in 24, 48, and 144 counts. There are other specifications for fiber. However, these 3 are A, the most common across all fiber networks, and B, the types of fiber needed most in the initial stages of construction. The CUDs that have had their engineering done by their partners are mostly looking for this type of fiber. We're hoping that this does follow what as close to a universal standard as possible. And we acknowledge that there's going to be differences. CUDs have already had differences in what they need out of their fiber. For example, CUDs that are already looking for smaller strand counts. Again, we're going to have to make more purchases down the road, but we're expecting that all CUDs will be able to use at least part of this fiber to start their network.
So if we enter into the memorandum of understanding and we get to the point with, say, Otelco of talking about the specific fiber, and they say we want to use 32XYZ fiber, then we should be able to buy that from VCUDA.
Well, if it's some of the fiber that we have, and it's worth noting that, different fiber strand counts and specs can be spliced into each other, sometimes with more difficulty than others, but, if it's a specification that's completely different, there might be room to change and use some of the fiber that we have. But again, this isn't an exclusive arrangement, and you'll still be able to seek out whatever kind of fiber you decide that you need.
So, Will, I have a question, and
Sure.
maybe a stupid one, I don't know. But what happens if we enter this agreement and by the time we get ready to build anything, it's gone? It's because you say you're buying up to 2,000, but the state requires 7. How does that work?
Right. So short answer, we don't know exactly yet. There's going to be a difference between when some CUDs are ready to begin construction and others. So to some extent, the policy for how the fiber is distributed is going to be first come, first serve. However, there also is a consensus emerging that there's going to be some clauses for geographic diversity as well, that every CUD is able to take at least part of the supply to begin construction. I mean, it simply wouldn't be fair, for the CUD that's farthest along to take this entire supply of 1,000 and reach the finish line before everyone else. That's part of the benefit from us, the association making the purchase, is that we'll likely be able to have a democratic process to decide upon equitable policy for distribution. And again, this is a big part of this also is to set a precedent and a partnership for future purchases. NRTC is an excellent provider in terms of their distribution policy. They have a number of manufacturers, and purchasing with them now will help us, set a framework for making more purchases in the future. We're going to need more fiber, and there's going to be a policy that at least all the CUDs will be able to take from it to some extent. So that's still developing. And if we keep this within the association, your CUD will have just as much say as the others in terms of how the allocation policy is developed. That's the best I can give you for now.
No, that's satisfactory. That seems reasonable.
Well, are there likely to be major changes in the memorandum of understanding between now and next week when the final draft is written?
There's not likely to be major changes. I know that the main reason I mentioned that is that for the legal counsel, there's a differing opinion about one or two lines depending on how the financing is arranged in the end. We're working through that. Even in the next couple of days, we expect to have the surely final MOU, and it's going to look quite similar to what you have in front of you. But again, if you think that there's flexibility to possibly next week, middle of next week, call a meeting of your executive committee or your board to sign off on the MOU, that would be effective as well. That's what some other CUDs are doing. But it's also possible that if you sign today, the draft is what's going to be put through as well. The main ideas are all there. The idea is that you're committed to, if you're going to seek to have some of this fiber, you're committed to obligating funds from your state grants to us to repay the balance. That's the essence of the agreement.
Well, with this MOU, are we committing to buy a specific amount, or are we just committing that we would like to potentially buy some amount of fiber cable?
I think that good question, Andrew. So you're not committing to buy a specific amount now. When you do your construction grants, you will apply for a given amount of fiber from our supply as an amount in your grant, and that will be committing to transfer that amount of your grant to us in exchange for the fiber. The second part of your question was, can you repeat that?
Well, no, you answered my question. It was whether we were committing to buy a specific amount,
right,
or we were just saying that we were interested in being committed to buy or have the ability to buy. Maybe.
Yep. So the MOU is a commitment to be part of the agreement with us, that if you're going to pursue this fiber, you're going to pay us. It's pretty logical. I mean, we just need them in place from any CUD, or preferably from all the CUDs beforehand, to get the financials straight in terms of the obligation. In terms of committing to what fiber you're going to get, that's when you're doing your construction grants. So that's going to be down the road.
Will, Terry Williams from Pulteney.
Hello.
When Consolidated, I don't know what their name is under this agreement, but ran their infrastructure, the build out, they ran right down the Vermont state line. Is there any possibility that some of this fiber could get sold in New York State, or is it just within Vermont?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I'm saying if, like Pulteney, we don't have a communication broadband board, within, and I'm not sure who in Pulteney knows enough about what we should buy, much less so my point is, if it's already built out, if we don't buy it in Pulteney, is it going to get bought out somewhere else? Even though it's physically here?
I mean, I'm still not sure I completely understand. The fiber that we're purchasing is to be kept completely within the state of Vermont and the CUDs.
Okay.
That's a big part why we want to keep it within the associations, that you all essentially will have the power to distribute it. and there's not going to be any room for the fiber to be sold or distributed to any other state, or at this point even beyond any of the CUDs.
Okay, I think you understood my question by the answer, but.
Okay, great. Great.
So who can we rely on to give us help about where, what priorities within the community of Powney should get the broadband?
Well,
We don't know what we need to buy.
well, that's going to be,
Will, do you mind?
please, Amanda.
Yeah, Terry, so part of what our high level engineering study will produce the numbers that will help us plan and negotiate going forward. So no municipality at this point can say individually what they need. There's a lot of private information that we don't have access to,
Yeah.
but using the public information we do have access to, it allows us to get the numbers to enter into discussions with a potential partner or existing ISP. And through those partnerships, build outs will be planned. So it'll be region wide and organized through those negotiations. So the town of Poultney won't be tasked with saying what it is they need. They have engineers that'll be assessing all that for the CUD.
Okay.
Of course, the town will be given notice, and if there are, permits to be pulled to access poles, there'll be a permitting process, but it's not something that will fall on the shoulders of Poultney by any stretch.
Okay, so we've got the MOU may be ready to be signed next week to get the municipality to sign on to this. That's what I heard. We don't know what we're going to sign on to.
So that's right, Terry. So the MOU, as mentioned, is going to stand pretty much as it is. But again, working this through with legal counsel and the financial partners, we will have a final draft that is sent out again to all the CUDs as soon as possible. So I think that you would be safe to say that you could consider it as a municipality next week, but do keep in mind that there could be a quick turnaround on this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is this a full board decision, the MOU or the executive committee?
I would.
Larry, if that question was for me, I think that's a decision your CUD would have to make. However, your bylaws go about approving this sort of thing.
Larry, when the executive committee met last week, we talked about it extensively. And my take on it was that we thought that it needed to be approved by the full board and not just the executive committee.
Okay, all right, that answers the question. Thank you.
That's sort of what I understood as well, that it would be the full board.
This is Bill Moore. A couple questions that I had regarding the if for instance we we talk about the different levels or the different positions that CUDs are currently at, running the gamut from EC fiber probably down to us as far as ready to build out. If we partner with an ISP, does this put us at a disadvantage in going in, committing to purchasing only from you, or can we purchase from other people? I just want to understand this a little more, especially the piece around committing our potential future grants to this. Is that only if we decide to purchase, or if, let's say, we decide to go in another direction, we can commit some of that state money to not buying from OCCUD?
Yeah, you're exactly right. In the latter part of your comment there, Bill, it's not a commitment to purchasing from us. With confidentiality in place, there's already a CUD that is pretty sure they're not going to purchase from us. Depending on who your partner is, you may not decide to take any fiber from us. However, if you sign the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, that gives you the option to go to us and say, we'll give you this much of our grant funding to take this much of the fiber. So the commitment is not an exclusive one. It's simply a commitment that if down the road you do decide to take from this supply, you will reimburse us out of your grant funding. So there's no commitment that would keep you from purchasing elsewhere. And you're on mute, Bill, if you have another question.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, thank you. That answered a lot of the questions that I had regarding, just how committed we were, to purchasing with Mikuta specifically, because again, we're still in the point where we're negotiating our partnership agreements and what level of partnership, whether that's us, building out our own infrastructure, turning it over to them, or us partnering with them to provide more funding so they can make the purchases. We just want to make sure that we have the flexibility to be able to do that down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we've kept flexibility in mind here. Like I mentioned, you all know that every CUD is in a different position. There's not an exclusive arrangement here. Your CUD will have the flexibility to make any decisions it wants. We just want to give you the option to be able to take from this supply, which we expect will be cheaper and more readily available.
Any other questions for Will?
I'll also put my contact info in the chat now. So at any time, any of you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. No further questions for you, Will. If you wanna bounce, you're more than welcome to. We'll probably get into some further discussions with you. I mean, stay on the call if you want to talk a little more about what we're going to do with this.
I'll have my camera off, but I'll be listening in just to see where you guys are at, and I'll just say keep up the good work. It's true your CUD is one of the more fledgling CUDs, but I've been impressed, and I hope that continues, and I really look forward to seeing where you guys are going in the coming months. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
So any further discussion from your board members?
I'm really glad that we decided to wait until our full board convened because I feel like we got a lot more updated information that makes me feel a lot better about this MOU. Like, I was kind of disappointed that we wouldn't I didn't think we'd be able to access it before, whereas now I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I like that. I would agree with you, certainly. Anybody else with comments? Any thoughts? Any action?
I don't have an issue with us moving and voting to sign the MOU and authorize Bill to sign it after review of the final copy. And with the understanding, Bill, if you see anything that seems a lot different, then you'd call a special meeting for us.
Okay, it sounded a lot like a motion.
I was just going to
Is there
ask
a
if that
second?
was a motion.
Well, it was just a discussion at that point, but I'll make the motion that we enter into the MOU and authorize the chair, Bill Moore, to sign the final draft of the MOU when it's available. With Bill calling a special meeting if there's significant changes in it.
I will second it.
Any further discussion?
The only thing
Yeah,
I'd like, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, my only comment about this is, you heard me during the executive session, I said the supply chain stuff, and, I heard about the labor and the costs, and it's all real. So doing this is, to me, kind of a smart hedge. And in the financial climate and supply chain climate we're in, that's not a bad move. It really is not. And that's the only comment I wanted to make.
I agree with you, Chris. Being able to purchase the fiber at a discounted price versus having to pay full price, I think that will definitely help us in the long run.
And I
And
guess
what-
I look at this and think of it as an option. I mean, we don't have to commit to buy anything, but it does give us the ability to buy it. If we figure out that it's the right fiber and we can use it. And if the price differential holds up, it would be good for us. So I fully support it.
I think part of this sounds like it's a rush, but actually, as Will stated, the availability through NRTC of getting the fiber is there. It's that 40% cost reduction. That window of opportunity is rapidly closing, and that's why OCCUD wants to move ahead and make this purchase. And once it makes the purchase, again, as Will stated, it's up to 26 weeks that can take for delivery. So that's why this is all of a sudden to get this in before that window closes. The pricing. Yeah.
Well, we're just talking about signing the MOU. We're not talking about committing to buying fiber
Right.
at this point.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why the MOU all of a sudden is in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with what everybody said, and again, the fact that we have options, that it gives us another option. It doesn't commit us, it doesn't commit future funding to this unless we decide to make the purchase. And it doesn't also make us less attractive to future partners that we will pre-committed. This is not a pre-committed commitment of our funding, the majority of our funding, or even part of our funding. If we choose not to purchase with VCUDA and choose to purchase from somebody else, or choose to use the funding to purchase through a partner, that we'll still be okay to do that. Is that your understanding, Amanda? So without any further comment, all those in favor of the motion to sign this MOU with the language that John spoke about, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion carries, and we will. I'll send you a copy once we have the final copy, and if it's deviated, I will call emergency meeting so we can look at it. Good work. Moving on. Let me look at my agenda. Okay, grant updates. Agenda item number 6, Broadband Innovation Grant H315 and H360.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Bill and I are going to have a quick meeting with the consultants that were brought on board last year through the Broadband Innovation Grant, who wrote the feasibility study, and also will be writing the business plan to touch base. They're definitely itching to get at the business plan. We're trying to see how we can align some of the timelines for our high-level engineering study and the writing of that business plan, as we do believe the data that will come from the high-level engineering study to be critical into the development of the business plan. So we'll see how that touch base goes and send out an update. All to say, though, that Broadband Innovation Grant deliverable of the business plan is due January 3rd, I believe. So there is a pretty near timeline. We anticipate having the high-level engineering study come November 1, right around the corner. So we'll see how all that lines up. It is possible that the strategic consultant that Otter Creek has through Finley Engineering. So Finley is the company that is doing the high-level engineering study, and they should have techs or a tech on site maybe next week. I should know soon. But that consultant, through their contract, potentially will have the bandwidth to support the writing of the business plan. And that being relevant because he would be a great conduit for the information being produced by Finley to flow through and into the business plan. So we're saying if we can't, absolutely wait until the high-level engineering study is finished, how we can most easily get information to flow from one undertaking to the other. So that leads to H315. One of the primary deliverables of that being the engineering study, which is underway, and they are still anticipating being having that completed come November 1. The Rutland Regional Planning Commission was awarded the grant administration contract for that grant, so I'm still here. Hopefully you're all okay with that. And the other products that were associated with AH315 are the negotiations of a partnership or partnerships. We'll see how much we can get into that depending on numbers and how the year goes. We do have NDAs signed by with Wheatsfield and Consolidated, and we did receive a phone call from Google Fiber interested in talking. They have a very, very, very different model, and I do not have all the information, but they asked if we would be interested in talking more, which of course, more the merrier at this rate. That will also require the signing of an NDA. So that might take a minute to get through the lawyers to get the NDA to you for approval. All to say, the primary difference with Google Fiber is that our current discussions with potential partners, the resounding theme is not necessarily one that I think Otter Creek's opposed to, that the CUD doesn't necessarily have interest in owning infrastructure, but so much partnering with an ISP to have them build it out. And most existing ISPs want to own their own infrastructure. Google Fiber, the difference is that they would want the CUD to own and build out the infrastructure. And they basically provide a promissory note. In the example given, if it were to cost $150 million to completely build out the entire region, the CUD would be tasked with finding a federal grant for about $75 million, so half of that amount. And they would provide a promissory note of $75 million that would cover the other half of the $75 million that we would have to take out in some form of bond, probably. The amount that they would pay would be over a period of time, obviously not all up front, but that means that the debt that would have to be taken out would be covered to an extent. And they'd be guaranteeing that payout regardless of what their take rate is, so to speak. They also said they're willing to overbuild, so bring in competition. These are all very controversial concepts at this day and age, not all of which I completely understand, I'll confess, but it was interesting to hear of a very different option. And I did say that, it would depend on what their timelines were. We couldn't just rush into something. Also, if they had access to resources, so what's being discussed in terms of manpower, woman power, people power to build out fiber, but also the CUD not going to launch into a partnership that would involve particularly high rates for consumers. It needs to be affordable. And he said that the cost for a symmetrical gig is $70 a month. And that's been their rate for the last 7 years, and they had no plan on changing that. So it's a lot of data. All to say is, I don't have a crystal ball to say what your partnership negotiations will look like. There's now a new player, so something else to discuss. But again, it's a completely different model for the CUD to entertain. And again, that would involve you being the owners of infrastructure. But I will be sending you more information as it's provided to keep those conversations going. H360. Bye, Terry. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. He has to take off. H360, the pre-construction grants. Some CUDs can already apply for that. That's just not on our timeline quite yet. I mean, it could be if all the stars aligned, but they also have, from my understanding, a set amount allocated for each CUD. So it's not going to just disappear. Those are some general updates and promises for more information to come. The end.
Thank you, Amanda. It's comprehensive. A lot of information there. Any questions at first blush from anybody? A lot. We're inching closer to that high level engineering study, which again will unlock a lot more levels for us as far as options. And I'll be interested to see how our meeting goes with our other consultants tomorrow.
Bill, I just Googled Google Fiber, and it says Google Fiber announced that it would mostly stop expanding their fiber service in 2016. I guess an early question with them is what happened that you were getting out and now you're getting in. And I can see a whole bunch of problems with the way Amanda described their structure, but I agree completely with Amanda that we need to listen.
Yeah, I agree with Amanda, and Amanda I trust, but also it seems they got out in 2000. I'm sure. I mean, if I'm just guessing, the reason why in 2016 there wasn't all this federal money being thrown at fiber, so suddenly it looks a little more attractive. I think that if you're in the fiber game, to up your fiber game, because there's independent of the infrastructure bill that's being kicked around Washington, there's still a lot of money that's being dumped right now, so it makes sense that they're getting back in. I think personally, just my opinion, but any other questions, comments, thoughts? All right, and if not, moving on. Agenda item number 7 is our build out news. Amanda.
I haven't heard too much. It does sound like Rutland City, parts of that are going online. Heard Poultney's a couple weeks away. It sounds like Pittsford might be in the same position. Marianne might know more about West Rutland, whether or not they're online. This is more of who's heard what. But that's specifically related to Consolidated's build out. I don't have information about anybody else.
I was actually surprised that the Rutland delegation wasn't represented here today, because I know, the last meeting that we had, last full board meeting we had, it was, there were some concerns and some questions about the build out in Rutland City. And I was looking forward to an update on how their meetings with Consolidated went.
Yeah. Do you know if Consolidated attended their alderman's meeting?
I do not. I have not seen the minutes from that yet. So I guess I'll reach out officially to Tom and find out. Again, I've seen Consolidated been doing a lot of build out around Brandon. I know they've been stopping traffic in some of our underground stuff, and their Eustis cable has been all around. So I'm looking forward to be able, as personally looking forward to be able to tell Xfinity to pound sand and go with give Consolidated a try, fiber try. So and I joke about pounding sand, but the rates have gone up so much, and what Consolidated's promising for those next couple of years is less than half of what I'm paying now for Xfinity copper. Any other thoughts, questions, comments about build out news before we go to item number 8? If not, moving to item number 8, new member recruitment. It's kind of been there sort of as a stand-in for a while. I haven't been doing much recruiting, just trying to stay on top of everything that we have right now. There's a lot of balls in the air, and but there's a couple of towns that are on our wish list. I don't know who they are yet. But if anyone wants to join, any of those Addison County folks want to jump lines and come to Rutland region, and moving on from new member recruitment to other business to be brought up. I will bring up something that was brought to me by our treasurer asking about the possibility of a warrant. So in the municipal world, people are familiar that sit on select boards to pay the bills. The select board will approve warrants from the administration to pay for those bills once a month. It's a way of providing some public oversight of the money going out. I didn't know if it's something we wanted to think about as a full board or something that would be tasked to the executive committee. It seems like it might be an more appropriate thing for executive committee, but it's something to think about, something we have to decide on tonight. Just wanted to put it out there. I told the treasurer I'd put it in everybody's ear. But using a warrant.
I'm
John.
all right with either the executive committee approving a warrant or the full board approving a warrant, but I think one of us needs to approve it.
Yes. Any passionate thoughts in any direction?
I think it makes sense as well. It probably having a few people actually see what we're spending money on is not a bad idea at all.
So would it be the desire to make any motions about whether it should be the full board or whether it should be the executive committee? Any thoughts, directions that anybody wants to go in? No.
I don't know. I mean, executive committee probably works. I mean, I guess the other thing that possibly goes with that is maybe we should periodically be seeing financial statements.
Agreed.
We just got our first official one from the new consultant, hence also the warrant. So that came in last night and I didn't have a chance to send it out today, so I can send it out to the full board or the executive committee, however this board decides to move ahead. But we did just get that in. We have, I guess, not QuickBook generated statements from before. So we do have those officially generated by the CPA, which will be going into feeding the proposed budget for the coming year and summary of activities for the past year. I need to get that out to you guys soon as well as a year-end activity.
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
Oh, no, it's okay, Bill, you can go.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, just like, I mean, I think it feels like an executive committee thing. I think that if someone would make a motion saying the executive committee would approve the warrant with the idea that potentially, when the warrants are approved, that financial statements are, that we get monthly financial statements that are presented with the approved warrant information at the board meeting, that'd be, usually the week after the executive committee meeting.
Actually, that's where I was going to go. So that was what I was about to say. I'm happy to make a motion that the executive committee approve monthly warrants and that financial statements be presented to the entire board with a copy of the warrant on a monthly basis.
I'll second.
There was a motion with a second by John. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion carries. Any other business? Seeing nobody jumping, confirming our next meeting is agenda item number 10. That would be the third Wednesday, right? And that put this where, because I don't have the calendar in front of me.
November 17th.
17th.
November 17th. Is there still working for folks? Okay. Works for everybody. And then the executive committee meeting being the week before, so the 8th. I'm sorry, the 10th.
The 10th, yeah.
All right, and this barring any sort of emergency meeting that pops up as a part of the MOU stuff or anything else. That agenda item number 11, one of my favorite.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We adjourned at 6:02. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Will, if you're still on. If you're not, it was great talking to you.
Good night,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bill,
See
if
you in
you
a
can
few
just
weeks.
send me the recording and the executive